Hello everyone, my name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Umineko When They Cry, episode 2, and I believe Shannon and George are alone together here. Maybe similar to what we saw in episode 1, especially since it is late at night, you know, somewhat approaching the end of the day, midnight. And yeah, things are getting a little crazy here because nobody knows what to believe in terms of there actually being a 19th person, if they are indeed a witch, or if they are somehow in a family relation to Kinzo, because then that creates a whole problem with the inheritance, which is what the adults are mostly concerned for. So we've got all of that going on as expected, and it is beautiful.
食堂に近づくなと言命されましたもので。なるほどね。それで、シャノンはそのベアトリーチェという人物に以前会ったことはある？
Oh, you better believe it, George.
わかりません。
That was a slightly odd way to say it. It didn't quite sound as if she was, saying her memory was hazy.
私たち使用人にとって、ベアトリーチェ様はお屋敷のもう一人の主です。親方様に感化されて、そうだと吹聴している。私がここへ勤め始めた時から、ベアトリーチェ様の話はすでに囁かれておりました。
Oh, it is a very old story.
前に聞いたよ。敬わないと呪われたりして、実際に事故に遭った使用人もいるんでしょ？ええ。ただ、信じる信じないに個人差があったのは確かです。私はそういうものには敬いを忘れないのが信条ですので、存在を疑ったことはありません。
Yeah, more so than ever.
黄金の魔女という、その不確かな存在がきっといると、おぼろげに信じていました。
Notice all the past tense here.
それで、実際にその不確かな存在の魔女が姿を現して堂々と玄関からやってきたということなのかな。わかりません。私には何も。シャノンは夕食を運んだ時に何か話はした？いえ、何も。
Yeah. Totally nothing.
しかし、ご飯を食べる魔女というんじゃ、少し動揺しちゃったんじゃないかな。
I mean, that's kind of what happened with Rosa. Like, somebody being here that really shouldn't be here, claiming to be somebody that shouldn't even exist, and also showing an ability that shouldn't exist, that being magic, that really threw her off. Now with Shannon here, like, now she knows Beatrice. She's already way past the confusing part of meeting Beatrice. George was slightly at a loss at what to do about Shannon's downcast appearance. Maybe not just Genji, but even the young servants had been ruthlessly questioned as to whether they knew anything about this Beatrice person. Thinking that, he tried to cheer her up somehow. Surely, just like Maria and Jessica, Shannon was unable to fully hide the agitation caused by the sudden visit of this person calling herself the Golden Witch. He had been so sure that that was the case, but George probably had no way of looking into Shannon's heart. Shannon was bitter and sad. The door to the Golden Land would be opened. The witch had definitely told her that. That meant the demise of everything. Even if she accepted the ring from George, they would never be married now. No, in the first place, did furniture like her even have the right to be married? Oh, I love how she's beginning to question herself. She's beginning to doubt everything. Even if the witch hadn't come to signal their demise, wasn't their relationship fated to fail sooner or later? Had she turned her gaze to focus solely on those fun days spent with George, while purposely closing her eyes to the sad reality? Kind of, yes, actually. She was even told that, like, very specifically.
婚約って何でしょうか？結婚の約束をするという意味だよ。でも僕はその意味において結婚と同じものだと考えてる。
Yeah, you gotta be a little bit more specific here, buddy.
本当なら 僕は今すぐにでも君をめとって家へ連れ帰りたい。でも僕は今修行中の身で、まだまだ自らの城を築き上げる力量がない。だからこそ一人前になって初めて胸を張って君を連れ帰りたいんだ。それは遠い未来の話じゃない。ほんの3年ほどを待ってほしいというだけの話なんだ。
Yeah, 3 years isn't too
でも
bad.
僕は
ありがとうございます。ジョージさんにとって婚約指輪が恋人に贈るプレゼントの一つではないということが分かりました。
No, we got to see a bit of a glimpse as to how much this meant to him. I mean, having to practice giving her the ring way before they actually got on the plane, it really, put into light how much this meant to him. In episode 1, yeah, you can assume that this was a major moment for the both of them, and that George worked up a lot, or we actually saw now a little bit more as to how much he worked up to. And we see a little bit on Shannon's side how she began to, feel leading up to this event. She may have had a feeling about this in episode 1, maybe not, who knows.
当然だよ。婚約指輪はただのアクセサリーじゃない。尊い約束を指輪の形で残す恋人たちの宣誓なんだ。
だとすると、すぐにも結婚するなら不要なものということになりますよね。
No.
その時は婚約指輪じゃない。結婚指輪として渡すよ。どちらにせよ、君に指輪を贈ることに変わりはないのさ。
At the end of the day, it's a promise. It's a different type of promise, though. The engagement ring is, yes, very similar to a wedding ring. You're promising to be with each other forever. But the wedding ring is more of like that lock and key. Obviously, you can still divorce. Nothing is permanent when it comes to this stuff, but it is supposed to be a informal promise. An engagement, you are getting set for that big boy promise, that big boy and girl promise, or whatever that you have coming up down the line. And that's sort of what you have going on. That's the roadmap, really. But people kind of go in different directions. They'll marry on the spot sometimes, fuck the middleman of planning for that big promise, and just go straight for it. Either way, it's a fucking promise. That's what I'm trying to get at. No, I would not say that either. No, that is not how I would put it. George knew that he was weak by nature. When he had been captivated by Shannon and had sworn to become an excellent man, he had also sworn to throw away that weak part of himself. So even if he had to be blunt about it, he chose to answer a little roughly. He was sure that doing so would bolster and reassure Shannon. I mean, George is the way George is. We all know it.
Yeah.
Shannon knows it.
その通りかもしれない。さよ。君を僕の妻にする。他の誰にもやらない。僕だけのものにする。
Damn, alright.
誰も手を出すな。そういう指輪だよ。間違いない。
ありがとうございます。
What a change of fucking attitude here.
本当に嬉しいです。
And then George-san, if it was decided by fate that this engagement ring, that this promise could never be fulfilled, would you still give it to me? Shannon tried to ask that, but she swallowed her words, because George had already spoken the answer. George had said it. He had said that to him, an engagement ring was infinitely similar to a wedding ring. Therefore, accepting George's ring had a significance far more sacred than a promise to marry. Now, I mean, the idea that is also along with the wedding ring is still there. It's, promise to always be with one another, to love each other, and whatever else. Honestly, the marriage part is basically just making it super duper fucking official. Let's go with that. But also, different cultures, they have like different sort of ways of looking at this. And then there's like the really just bleak way of looking at it where it's like marriage is just, getting it on a fucking piece of paper and getting better tax rates or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, it's really all this man wants.
その時、僕の隣には年老いた君がいる。 それを僕は予告、いや、予言するよ。必ずその日は訪れるから。
Yeah, definitely, totally.
必ず訪れますか。信じても。
必ず、絶対。それを言葉でない形で証明するのが。
見せてください。
これさ。
Oh my god, George, you're fumbling this shit. George, thinking he was being told to show her the ring, hurriedly took out the ring box. Even though he had practiced so much, he hadn't been able to do it cool. But Shannon wasn't looking at that. In her straight and direct gaze were vague tears and a smile. She focused her eyes on George's eyes. No, on something she could see beyond his eyes.
私にその未来を
Whoa,
見
whoa,
せてく
whoa.
ださい。
Oh, okay.
見せるよ。必ず。約束する。老後までじゃない。死んだ後も、僕らは魂になっても、ずっとずっと、一緒にいる。
I mean, technically, they were together in that tea party scene at the end of episode 1, so technically, yeah. Shannon wiped away her tears and took the ring box. Inside was a diamond ring worthy of blessing the two of them. George said the line that he had practiced over and over again inside his head.
その指輪を好きな指にはめて、それを返事にしてほしいんだ。つまり、明日の朝までに。
Now, she'll give an answer right fucking now, goddamn. Shannon smiled, took the ring, and with a completely natural movement, put it on the ring finger on her left hand. It really had looked like such a natural, ordinary movement. And for a while, George was stunned.
これが私のお返事です、ジョージさん。
Damn, they did not update the sprite. This game is bad. Throw it away.
いや、さよ。
Honestly, I do dig the confidence that George comes up with here.
一緒です。
Like, we can all tell he's young, inexperienced, and kind of stupid. And Shannon also doesn't really understand a whole lot of what comes with loving somebody because of her upbringing. And also, she's young, dumb, and, well, I guess the same boat as George to an extent. Young love is all about making mistakes and not knowing what the fuck you're doing. But you roll with it. You make things work. You have that confidence and you move forward with it because the confidence does show how much you mean to another person. These two are fucking idiots for different reasons, but I respect George, and I respect Shannon despite, you know, quite literally making a deal with the devil.
ジョージさん。
I mean, it's beautiful, right? There was no blessing from God, no pastor to witness, nothing. But the two who were married proclaimed it. Two souls were joined here today. I mean, technically it was engagement, but we already talked about all this shit enough, honestly, so fuck it. We move on, we move ahead. What was taking so long there to transition, I have no idea. But now what? Yeah, I mean, I just got done saying all that.
そうかな。私、家具じゃないよ、もう。
嘘だ。どうして自分を騙すんだよ。人間になんか絶対になれないって知ってるくせに。黄金鏡へ行かなきゃ人間になれないって知ってるくせに。なのに、どうして黄金鏡へ生きる約束を自分で保護に。
そっか。
Yeah, he really got on his hands and knees and started kissing Beatrice's feet for nothing there, didn't he?
ベアトリーチェ様との約束がなかったことになっちゃうんだったね。ごめんね。
あとは。
Maybe this is like a form of acceptance for Shannon. Like whatever happens, you know, she'll go out happy.
13人が生贄にされる。
黄金鏡に行けるか行けないかなんてどうでもいいことじゃない。なのにカノン君は黄金鏡へ行くことに固執してる。
That is a fair point,
ど
actually.
うしても人間になりたいんでしょ。どうして？
人間になりたいからだよ。家具はもう嫌だ。
Okay.
どう
Nope,
して？
understandable.
僕も
Yep, there we go.
恋がしたかったんだ。
He has regrets too. He does. He really does. I mean, that was very fucking obvious for a while now. I mean, why else did they show that part with Kanun and Jessica? I mean, there's definitely more behind this mask that Kanun has. He's just fooling himself in a very similar way that Shunun has also been fooling herself. And it's actually kind of, it's kind of funny. You know, Kanun says all this shit to Shunun, but it is also the other way around. Tears were coming from Kanun's eyes, and he howled. There you go.
そしてあの日のお嬢様の姿を見て、
恋をする資格がないわけじゃなかった。
添い遂げられぬ思いなら、ない方がマシだって思った。
I swear, this has been like a whole Kingdom Hearts 2 nobody situation where they don't have hearts or whatever, but I mean, come on.
違うんだ。僕が怯えていただけなんだ。僕は永遠になれない恋ならしない方がマシだって。
You don't know if love is ever. You don't know if it's ever going to be eternal. You know, people go on dates, they talk with people that they have an interest in and all that because you don't know if it'll work out, but you got to take the chance.
セミは生涯のうち数週間にも満たないわず数週間で終わる恋だからと恋をしないセミはいないんじゃないかな。
That's actually a really good way of putting it. It seemed that Conan was still muttering his regrets, but by now it was all jumbled up with his sobs.
あの魔女が憎い。僕にどうしてこんな気持ちを植え付けて、あいつさえ妙ないたずらをしなければ、僕はお嬢様のことなんか。
ベアトリーチェ様はひどいね。カノン君にそうやって悔し泣きをさせるために運命をいたずらした。
I mean, we all knew she wasn't up to any good.
でも魔女の思惑は多分。
But it was interesting seeing what she was doing. Yeah, I have to admit, like, I can't completely agree with what Beatrice was doing, and we all knew what she was doing, but it was interesting to see it all go down. Knowing love isn't a regret that ties you to life. It is the destination we're supposed to reach in order, or to reach in our journey through life, excuse me. I can't read, obviously. That's, one of my usual failed skills, but that's okay. With the power of love, we'll all be okay. Hello, Beatrice.
せっかくの約束はこれで遂行だな。
She's wearing her regular outfit this time.
さてさて、これにてすべての駒の条件は同じよ。駒は18。13人が生贄に捧げられる。生き残る5人は誰か。それとも誰かがこの儀式を打ち壊してみせるか。誰がどうやってこれはチェスプログラムではない対等なゲームだ。
Is it really?
わらわだけが一方的に詰めるわけではない。その時にこそ敗北を受け入れ、わらわに屈服することになるであろう。
I mean, we'll see, because if we recall, you know, Battler's in for the long haul. Beatrice does not like being bored.
対等なゲームと言った理由、それはわらわにも敗北の条件を設けてあることだ。負けのないゲームほど退屈なものはないのでな。
Gotta have the risk of the thrill there.
それは
No point in putting the hacks on.
捧げられたあの非分。
Even so, that's exactly what episode 1 felt like.
あれこそは黄金鏡の扉の開き方にして同時に儀式を打ち破る鍵でもある。わらわは非分に従い儀式を完遂する。
Just like in episode 1, I believe.
そなたは非分の謎を解き儀式を打ち破りわらわを滅ぼす。
I think that's literally what we were told at the end of episode 1.
非分に隠された謎を解きわらわが金蔵に値し莫大なる黄金のありかを暴いてみせよ。こたびのゲームはどういう結末を見せるのやら。
Oh, I'm expecting another big ol'
健闘を期
L.
待するぞ。わらわを楽しませてみせろよ。 Ushiromiya Battler!
And you know, let's see what happens, right? I'm curious, so things are bound to go in a different direction here. Actually, what is happening? What the fuck is this?
異論はない。私と夏日は認める。
信じられないし、信じたくないけれど、それが
夏日、言葉を少し選びなさい。彼女は当家の最高の賓客なのだ。
Oh.
わしらも認める。グーの音も出えへん。
へえ、認めるわ。一遍の文句もない。まさか本当に素直にあなたに尊敬の念を覚えるわ。
What?
私もよ。
I'm slightly confused as to what's going on here. Are they accepting that Beatrice is indeed the witch?
だから認めざるを得ないわ。
俺も認めるぜ。未だに信じられねえ。だがどうしようね。悪魔を証明しちまった。あんたの勝ちだ。
I guess that's what we have going on here.
悪魔の証明はそなたが好む証明不能への便利な言い訳だったが。
いじめるなよ魔女様。俺はもうあんたを認めてるぜ。降参だ。
キリエ、まだ異論があるか。わらわは全員一致しか好まぬ。お前一人がわらわの存在を認めぬならば。
As the witch laughed boldly, the siblings started getting frantic. They were afraid of displeasing the witch. Kirie lightly closed her eyes and after keeping silent for a while, opened her mouth.
ごめんなさい、降参よ。
Yeah, she hesitated there. But even then, like, back when she met Beatrice as she walked in, like, there was something that just kind of had her a little, you know, a little thrown aback. Only Kirie had faced the witch with stern eyes until the end. However, this had only resulted in her refusing to accept the truth for a short time. The truth, well, the being that was before her eyes could not be denied. Devils had already been proven.
私も認めるわ。
But it is hard, even so something has been, I think I brought this up before, even so something has happened right before you. Something that is very incomprehensible. Sometimes your brain just cannot keep up. It does need a minute for you to fully accept that something has happened.
あなたはベアト
Something
リンチ、
so impossible.
後宮家の顧問錬金術師、そして偉大なる魔法の使い手、魔女であることを認めざるを得ない。
Okay, so are they all dying? Everybody there? Are we losing like all the adults? Because I am going to assume that there will be different deaths here in this go around. In this episode, we will see different people die at different times, and we're going to have a different 5 final survivors. Instead of it being the kids of Natsuhi, we're going to have a different group. And, well, that's what we've been alluded to, specifically by Beatrice. But we'll wait and see here, shall we? As we just pan around. And there's midnight, I think. Please, portrait, do not do anything scary. Please do not do anything scary. I cannot stand that. I brought it up before. If any of these paintings change, specifically this one, I will flip out slightly. It is actually a fear for paintings to change. Even if, like, not abruptly. If they just kind of change over time or something like that, that freaks me out. And I think these are our 6 that will go away. Actually, there's more than 6 here, is there? No, there's 6. I think. I guess we're just seeing everybody. This is very similar, actually, to what we saw in episode 1. We kind of just see where everybody is at, what they're up to. This seems kind of similar to episode 1. The kids are all here at the guest house. doing whatever it is they're doing. Haven't seen Shannon yet, though. Here's Kinzo. Goto and Genji, they were in the same locations they were at. And now Beatrice is back in her room. So what do we got? Come on, game. Who's gonna die? The suspense is kind of killing me. Can we like, get going here? I need to know what crazy bullshit is bound to occur. Come on. Let's get to it, please. I'm excited, honestly. Less anxious, more excited to see how things will go down here as things are truly beginning, just like they did in episode 1. The crazy, batshit insane events will finally occur. What is that sound that always fills my ears? Is it the sound of the rain, the sound of a waterfall, or could it be radio static? If not, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through my body. I want it to be the sound of the blood circulating throughout me, telling me that I am still alive. I think it is. The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the position that he'd been when he woke up, still sitting in a chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. He was expecting to die. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 o'clock on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he always woke up at exactly this time, as though he had measured it with an hourglass. Honestly, I used to be able to do something very similar. Never on the dot, but I'd have to wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work. Or I think back whenever I was going to university, it's like I had to wake up by like 4:30 in the morning for my bus commute, which I strongly don't recommend having to do commutes, but it is what it is. Yeah, you kind of train your body to wake up like a little bit before, or at least I was able to. So 5:50 in the morning for that 6 o'clock wake up, 4:20 or something like that in the morning for the 4:30 wake up. That shit sucked. I wanted that extra 10 minutes. He didn't think of this as something to boast about, but he told himself that as long as he could still manage this, his health could not be that bad. I actually don't know whether to categorize, your body always waking up at the same time as a good thing or a bad thing. I know for a fact that it's bad on your heart to actually rely on an alarm clock or your phone's alarm or whatever to wake you up. That's actually really bad on the heart. So a natural wake up is what's recommended. But is that natural? Training yourself to wake up at a very specific time. Kinzo was struck by a faint desire to see beyond the study door. After all, he might find the traces of someone's vain struggle to break through the door, a sign that someone had tried to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices. Damn, Kinzo, you're really good at saying a whole lot of nothing. Nothing that I want to hear, at least. That was why he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. The very desire was human. And that was why Kinzo did not check. He often rejected desires that came to him because he was human. By doing that, he could be immersed in a feeling of sufficiency, as though he himself had become a being that surpassed humans. He recognized human desires for what they were and guarded against them. Things that a human would want to do, he resisted. This eccentricity and rebellious nature had surely given him a rare genius, making it possible for him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ushiromiya family in a single generation.
お前が取った6つの駒は何なのか。そして次なる手はどう来るのか。
I mean, easy prediction here based on all the things that we've seen so far and what we've been told, you know, that may be her plans. All the adults are probably gone, all the mothers and fathers. But actually, yeah, wait a minute. That is where I'm getting confused. It is supposed to be 6, but we have 7. We have 7 individuals here, and out of those that got killed in episode 1, that is Kraus, Natsuhi. These 2 got to live for a little bit. Then it was Rudolph, Kirie, Rosa. The only one that really was kind of the odd one out in episode 1 was Shannon, right? Oh, you know, Shannon and Goda. Wait a minute, I'm counting too many. Natsuhi survived in episode 1. Okay, the odd ones out were Shannon and Goda. So, which of the adults is going to survive? They all have now acknowledged Beatrice as the witch. And then I guess the couple that are going to be the second Twilight, I guess that's going to be George and Shannon, if they both make it out of round 1 here. I guess we'll see here shortly. I just want to see all the chaos yet again. The servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. All right, who do we got? Goda's still alive. Goda is still here. He gets to make breakfast. Goda was the most enthusiastic. During the family conference, he had been told to concentrate his efforts, especially on cooking, and he had been especially exempted from several tasks that servants normally must do. Goda, who was a show-off, seemed to be feeling particularly superior because of that. He let Genji and the rest prepare the rest of the mansion and worked on making breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Kannon, and they carried out various tasks. Okay, so all the servants are apparently still alive. Good. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Actually, I am recalling, in episode 1, Natsuhi was supposed to die. She was. There were the marks on her door, so yeah, that's kind of where things got a little fucky, huh? Last year, the family conference had continued into the early hours of the morning. It wouldn't have been odd if this year's conference had done the same. Considering the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside, she knocked. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning. Doesn't seem to be anybody here. The room was cold and the conference seemed to have ended a long time before. No blood traces this time around. I think that's what we saw back in episode 1. There was a tea set on the table from which they had probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean up. Cleaning up the tea was a servant's job. If the family members were extra generous and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face. So it was a truly pleasant act of kindness for the family to do only this much. As she approached the table to clean it up, she noticed something like a memo that had been left near the utensils and cups. Since it was right next to the tea set, Shannon picked it up, naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant doing the cleaning. Written there was not a request, nor was it thanks for preparing the tea. There was just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out loud. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait, is there a chapel here on this island? Where the fuck were they? Where did, like, the adults, the parents, where did they all go last night? A small sound kept repeating over and over. Normally that sound would have been too trivial to be worth caring about. If only I could stop hearing it soon, I could go back to sleep right away, she thought vaguely. But no matter how much time had passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Ah, shut up. Who is it? Banging on the door this whole time. As soon as she realized that, she woke up. Someone was knocking. And then she noticed that it wasn't just a knock, but a voice as well.
Rosa-sama.
Okay.
Rosa-sama.
I think Rosa is the one parent that gets to live out of all the others.
おはようございます。
待って、今行きます。
It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it wasn't even 7 o'clock yet. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this premonition of misfortune. Though Genji was a servant, Rosa had known him since her childhood days, so even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas, she opened the door a crack and answered. We're always using the same sound effect for all doors. It's ridiculous.
何かあったの?
はい、実は。
Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go. So there is a chapel here. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Was that actually talked about in episode 1? Honestly, there are some like very minute things and details that were brought up in episode 1, but because they never really were ever brought up again throughout the rest of the episode, I did forget some things. Like how Rosa did actually have a daughter, or 2 kids. Did she? No, not her. Somebody else. Or maybe it was. See, I've already forgotten. Somebody actually had to correct me a few videos ago because I had forgotten, you know? I think it might have been Kirie. It's when Rosa and Kirie were talking. Genji whispered something into Rosa's ear. For a second, it seemed Rosa couldn't understand what she had been told. After having it repeated several times, she realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed the door for a second, changed into her clothes quickly, and followed Genji towards the mansion. Oh, things about to get all wild and crazy yet again. At least we didn't have that, since we were, seeing the garden there for a moment, that rose situation. You guys remember that from episode 1? That was an interesting one. The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind it, a short walk's distance away. I swear, I have never even heard of the chapel. But then again, I could have forgotten. It had been built at the same time as the mansion, as though its walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside. It was a very old building. Rosa dashed through the rain along with Genji. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. So they were here, they being Rosa and the others. Eventually, the chapel came into sight from beyond a thin grove. Just looking at it from the outside, it seemed a place of dazzling beauty, where a pair of young lovers might want to get married. However, Kinzo apparently viewed it as a very sacred place, so Rosa and her siblings had been given strict instructions not to approach it unnecessarily. Even though they were all grown up now, approaching the chapel for any reason would still make them feel guilty, and also afraid, as if their father might get angry and hit them in the face. Yeah, especially if they were abused growing up. The servants' silhouettes could be seen in front of the chapel's entrance. Goda, Shannon, and Kanon, which meant that all of the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Genji had spoken to Rosa, telling her what the situation was. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she definitely hadn't been able to understand. It was probably the same for all the servants gathered here as well. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have been able to understand what was going on. Well, fuck, there we go. There we go. It's the same one. It's the same fucking sigil that we saw, or magic circle that we saw back in episode 1 with the storehouse. On the door at the entrance to the chapel was something very large, drawn with a creepy, stringy paint that made one think of blood, something like a creepy magic circle. Oh, damn, let me get some water. The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth.
申し訳ございません。普段はここへは立ち入りませんもので、いつ書かれたのかはわかりません。
じゃあ最初に見つけたのは誰？
食堂へお茶の道具の片付けに行きましたら、礼拝堂と書かれたメモがあったもので。
Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand.
誰の字？兄さんや姉さんの字ではないわね。それで、あなたはここへ来て、これ。はい。
ローサ様、これを。
Yeah, what else we got going on here? Okay.
Happy Halloween. For
Shunun pointed at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. This is different. Until it had been pointed out to her, she had thought it was just another part of the magic circle. There, the following words were written in English. Happy Halloween for Maria. Happy Halloween for Maria. This creepy magic circle was for Maria. Happy Halloween. Oh, Beatrice, you evil person, you. That's gonna stir the pot. Yesterday, only one person had said Happy Halloween to Maria. The key phrase matched. It was the Golden Witch, Beatrice. Or maybe the pot won't be stirred all that much.
マリアはあの子いとこたちと一緒に寝てるはずよね。確認した。
申し訳ございません。マリア様のお名前が書かれていたことには今気づきましたもの。まだ確認しておりません。至急。
何やってんのよ。私はマリアの様子を見てきます。それからクラウス兄さんたちにも知らせて。
Oh yeah, there won't be any need to tell those people anything here. After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was odd. Her own rank in this family conference was the lowest of the four siblings. Why had she been the only one called during an abnormal situation like this? Excuse me. And the other siblings hadn't been? Even if Maria's name had popped up.
はい、旦那様にご連絡申し上げようとしたのですが、お姿が見当たらず。
奥様もお部屋におられません。シーツの様子からすると、昨夜はベッドに戻られていないのかもしれません。
Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back. I'm gonna assume they have not gone in yet. That has not happened.
いえ、まだです。確認しようとしたのですが。
実は礼拝堂の鍵は
Really?
マスターキーに対応しておりません。
Interesting.
一本だけある鍵でしか開けられないのですが。
She didn't want to get closer to the door with the creepy magic circle if she could. Rosa readied herself and approached, and then tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock.
入れる窓などがないか探してはみたのですが、もし中を確認するのでしたら窓を破らなければならないかと思います。いかがいたしましょう。
そんな許可私に出せるわけがないわ。お父様の大切な礼拝堂なのよ。
Yeah, good luck getting his permission on this one. At that time, the events of the previous days swirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. That's right, when I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? We also have one here, Rosa. Come on, let's open it up and read it. Yeah, there's no mistake, she did hand it over. When Maria tried to open it, the witch told her not to do it yet, and then she surely said, "The time to open that will come soon." Rosa was sure. There could be no mistake. The envelope Maria had received was... Yeah? What about the envelope you received, Rosa? Come on. I don't think we've gone through that yet. And I'd like to. I don't like leaving things unsolved and in the dark. After dashing back up to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps. Softly opened the door and peered inside. Everybody still asleep? I think so. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores typical of young people. There were 4 children, and Maria was there, sleeping soundly. After breathing a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked carrying her treasures around with her. She was probably emulating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just imitating her mother, so everything on the inside was junk. Well, yeah, junk to her. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy occult items, notebooks, describing the things of that nature, and so on. So Rosa had never been happy to see her daughter walking around with things like that, which weren't girlish at all. However, trying to force Maria to stop had resulted in a big fight, so she decided to let it be. Might as well. So this was supposed to be her, like, invitation to the Golden Land, right? I don't think we're gonna get anything off of this. I'm pretty sure Rosa still had her envelope, unless it was read last night and that's what led to the events that occurred? I don't know. A Western envelope with the crest of the Golden Eagle. When she took it out of the bag, she realized there was a heavy, vaguely cylindrical object inside. She could tell by its feel and its weight. There was no doubt. This was a key. After turning around and checking that Maria was still sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope and the contents spilled out into her palm. Yep, there's our key. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa gripped that key and dashed out. That actually looks badass. I love that ancient looking shit. Battler seemed to have noticed that sound, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again. Thank you, Battler. It's easier this way, man.
源氏さん、この鍵。ひょっとして礼拝堂の鍵ということは。
これをどこで？はい。これが礼拝堂の鍵です。
Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped resisting with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. Cue door opening.wav. It's actually wave. I don't know why I don't know why I said that without the E. Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Now, of course, there was no answer. Because there's dead bodies. The chapel had a high ceiling and the air was cold. And even on this rainy, unsettling day, it felt sacred for some reason. The servants timidly followed after Rosa.
Rosa-sama, are o.
Kano noticed it immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place that would normally have a pastor preaching of God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. Okay. At first, it looked like a dining table. There actually were gorgeous plates and utensils placed there, making it look like a child's birthday party or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. Yeah, I don't know why we're going full in here with the Halloween shit that Maria's been bringing up this episode, but whatever. And there were people seated at the table. 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Ava and her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. But if you wanted to be sure, you would still have to go even closer to check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. Rosa and the rest had opened the door, entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps, and called out, asking if anyone was there. And yet there had been no reaction. Even if Rosa and the rest assumed they were being ignored, you would still expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there hadn't even been that. So at first, it felt like someone had set down some dolls that greatly resembled those people. By now, it wasn't just Rosa, Shannon and Kanon, and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically with the creepy emotion that grasped their hearts. What are we going to see here? Are we going to be able to actually see anything this time around? As she walked towards the altar, she called out again, but there was still no reaction. Yes, by now, Rosa was sure of it. She was sure that these weren't dolls, but the people themselves. Yeah, in episode 1, all we got was like a little CG. That didn't really show anything, but I think it showed like George breaking down or some shit. They grew close enough to see clearly what lay on the table. It still looked like an adorable banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, cute pictures and drinks, all kinds of pumpkin-shaped ornaments, and they were all decorated in a Halloween style. And while this probably wasn't the time to be thinking it, Maria would surely have been delighted to see all of this. Oh yeah, I think she would like this shit the most, minus the fucking corpses, but she probably doesn't care. That was the state of the table that well, let me restart. That was the state of the table they sat in front of, apparently asleep. It was an eerie scene, as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. No. I don't think so. Not in this story. People don't sleep in this story. When she approached even closer to them, she realized that there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Candies, cookies, soda, and chocolates, all with heavy fantasy-themed packaging. They were all scattered across a carpet covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Uh-huh. Yeah, jam. Jam game. Okay, so here's our scene. Whoop, not that. Oh wait, that's right, if I wanna... There we go. This is what I've been looking for. Nice. I mean, we don't get to see the bodies themselves. It's kind of a similar image to what we saw in episode 1, but... this'll do. Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party. A banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsuhi, Ava, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kirie were seated in chairs apparently asleep, but all dead. And there was that little chime. The thing is, like, some stuff had populated in the tips prior, and I didn't hear the little, the little sound effect, which is why, like, either the last video or the video before, I was just checking the tips and character logs just in case I missed anything. But we good. Kraus, corpse found inside the chapel. The direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems his stomach was cut open and his intestines were pulled out after his death. Additionally, sweets and candies were packed into his stomach. This is some chaos head or child bullshit. God damn. Welcome, Maria. Happy Halloween. Corpse found inside the chapel. Direct cause of death is unknown. Stomach cut open. Sweets and candies packed in her stomach. See, didn't I tell you, bellies are full of candy? Pretty much the same thing here, but everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. A belly could never be full of disgusting things. That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. Who's 2 for 2 with these deaths? I think it's just Kraus, Rudolph, and Kirie now. So when it comes to the round 1 deaths, those 3 are the unfortunate ones. But I do have to say, I'm kind of happy that we don't have to deal with Natsuhi in this go around, and it's just going to be Rosa. And everybody pretty much will have, like, a target at this point. They know what's going on. They know who the culprit is. It's the 19th person that's been introduced. We don't have to speculate like in episode 1. So we don't have that headache going on. How could you tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they had been vertically sliced open from their chests to their stomachs. The 6 of them had sat down at a Halloween party before having their stomachs split open, killing them. Then the jam covering the floor must be what overflowed from their stomachs once they had stuffed themselves completely, right? No. The contents of their stomachs had been scattered all over the floor. And that wasn't all. Out of their stomachs, it was almost as though they'd poured out. As those snacks had overflowed from there. I get it, game. I get it, game. Jesus. Candies and cookies, soda and chocolates had poured out, stained with blood, and had scattered across the floor. What could have happened to cause this? I don't know, murder? It's almost as though their stomachs were stuffed full to bursting with sweets, and it all poured out when their stomachs split open. Yeah, not the greatest scene once we get a little closer, huh? Rosa remembered a certain shocking meal, a turkey that had been served at her own birthday. When it had been cut open with a knife, out flowed one of her favorite foods. But since she hadn't been told what was inside, the deep, deep red ketchup omelet rice poured out like bloody maggots. Pulsing, dripping, slimy, pulpy, squelching. I did not like that sound effect that played there. That was nasty. Honestly, an understandable reaction. The trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise. Unable to hold back, she threw it all up on the floor. Good way to start the morning. Her empty stomach had nothing but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no fun Halloween party now. The three couples were enshrined right there, their stomachs vertically wrenched open with... So many snacks had been stuffed in there, pulpy, squishy. We get it. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Bloodstained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet snacks that made your fingers stick together, gummy. But stained with entrails, sloppy and pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now? That didn't feel like a candy or a cookie or a soda or a chocolate. I'm scared. What did I step on? I can't even look at the bottom of my foot. God damn, this is terrible. What a gruesome Halloween party. That's an understatement. From far away, it had looked truly beautiful, fantastical, and fun. But from up close, it was horrible, disgusting, and yet somehow still beautiful. A part of me wanted to tie that in with the, from afar, when you can't truly understand or see something, yeah, it looks fine, but once you get a closer, view on it, then it's like the truth really does come forward as to what is actually happening right then and there. Is there a hidden meaning to that? Probably not, but Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar. Now, she's having a rough-ass time here.
救急車警察
Yeah, that's unfortunately not going to work yet again, I'm sure. If a word so tied to reality hadn't come out of Gota's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably have found themselves unable to escape that nightmarish party even now. But it wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't keep yelling about the police, it felt as though another seat might be set up at this demon's party and given to them. Their own chests felt like they were expanding unpleasantly from the inside, excuse me. Rumbling, churning, and it was surely because candy was about to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa, once again tortured by a desire to vomit, threw her stomach acid up on the floor. And then she searched to see if there was any candy in it. Oh, man. Rosa coughed violently again, forcefully spitting out the stomach acid that had been burning in her throat. I'm honestly getting some Higurashi vibes here. She realized that by now her whole body had been covered in a filthy sweat. Yeah, if he's still there this time around. I'm actually surprised he wasn't called. Well, actually, they didn't know. They couldn't have known that there were dead bodies in here. Why even bring Dr. Nanjo here? It's a bit too late for medical care. Yeah, but at least he can, analyze it, maybe. He kind of did the same back in episode 1 with all the deaths. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again stared at her siblings, with whom she had spent good times and bad, and their partners. Though there could be nothing more tragic than this scene, for some reason she was tempted to describe these fantastical deaths as beautiful. Yeah, not entirely sure on that, but yeah, we got another crazy case on our hands here, don't we, gamers? And I'm sure we're going to learn that the phone lines are down, that you actually cannot get in touch with anybody over the radio. Kinzo's probably not going to be in his study, and it's going to be similar but different than what we saw in episode 1, because now we actually do have that 19th person. Anyways, that is where I will call this video. Oh man, this shit's got my anxiety going. I am so fucking excited. No, this is going to be good. I'm excited to get going with this rendition to see how things are going to be different and what we can take away from this. Because at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need to be able to see what we can take away from this to see if there are, reasons that or reasonable causes, reasonable events that could have taken place here. Because that's what Battler is trying to do. He's trying to connect everything to a path that is legitimate. It doesn't involve magic. That everything that happens here is done by a human. So, yeah, I mean, we can assume that what happened here was just, somebody cut open a bunch of people and killed them, just straight up in a very horrific way. But it's the other deaths that begin to get a lot more confusing that I am the most excited for. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy shit, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.